My question is the Trump trade starting to fade?
Well, I'd say that's yet to be determined. First, nice to speak with you, Dan. I think there's multiple forces at work right now. Certainly the Trump trade is part of that. If you look back to 2016, when Trump got elected the first time around, well, you had a similar type of rally. Small caps, value stocks, those types of things were really shooting through the roof, at least temporarily. Ultimately, though, that was short-lived, and you got back into a big growth-led market. This time around, you've got not only the Trump trade going on, but you also had the more positive inflation print in the U.S. So it's a little bit hard to disentangle those two. But I think certainly as the market assesses the election today, who knows how things will end up? There's a lot of time left in this election. But I think the knee-jerk reaction or interpretation of the wild political scene that we've seen here in the U.S. is that the race just got a little bit closer. Maybe the potential for one party sweeping heavily in one direction or another has probably diminished a bit. And so it's kind of back to business as usual. And what that's meant so far this year is, the Magnificent Seven, the big growth trade, still working out pretty well.
I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but Kamala Harris is well on track to secure her party's nomination for president to take on Trump in November. Looking ahead, and look, let's just assume that is the scenario that comes forward here. What would a Harris presidency mean for markets in your view?
Well, first, Dan, I think you're right there. It would just be very hard for another candidate to come in. She's probably got more, in terms of a treasury now, not only what she inherited when Biden was the head of the ticket, but now, according to reports, fundraising has been very good right out of the gates. That's hard to replicate. You've had most of what you might consider the main contenders come out and support her. And so it does look increasingly likely that she'll be the candidate, but that's certainly not a sure thing at this point. What I would say is this is a pretty modest change from what the ticket looked like previously. Of course, we don't know who her VP choice will be, but here's someone that, the public has had a lot of experience with. We've seen her not in the presidency, but in the vice presidency for 4 years. So she's certainly not an unknown quantity. And who she's going to be running against, Donald Trump, he's also been president for 4 years. And so here you've got two politicians that are pretty well known by the marketplace. I think hard to get a big surprise out of the election should that happen. And so I don't think things change so much in terms of policy agendas and so forth with Harris taking over the ticket. What I do think probably changed is maybe some of those folks who don't want to vote for Trump, maybe the anti-Trump vote, but folks who didn't feel comfortable voting for Biden because of his age now feel a little bit more comfortable voting for this part of the ticket. That's probably why her polling numbers have gone up. But in terms of the policy she has liked to champion, I don't think that we're in for much of a change there at all. We've already seen what that looks like over the last 3.5 years or so.